Welcome to this video series. I'm very excited about this. My name is Janine Gallizia, and now we're going to be doing the same thing for Artefacto. So welcome to the video. I hope you like it. And to be honest, work on this and you're going to see the results. Let's get painting. So I want light in here. I want warmth. So I'm actually going to start with my, this is Winsor & Newton. This is transparent. I have gouache up here. This is not the gouache, this one. This is my gold ochre, and I'm quite literally gonna throw it down here. And I'm not wetting my paper because we don't have time. Plus, I can put in all sorts of little hard edges, dry shapes, all sorts of things, because the paper's dry. But I can't do if my paper was wet. So I'm just going to add some water and then soften this. If you put a lot of water and your sheet is inclined, like mine is, you're going to notice the water will run down. Don't let it accumulate too long because it may dribble all the way down your sheet. But you will notice that it will run down. Now, I want this weaving in and out of the shadow side of my subjects in a messy way, just because that's the way I like it. If you don't want messy, you don't have to be messy. So not too wet with my brush. Just soften that line. Okay, that way I don't have a hard edge in my sky. Let's just keep going with that wash, bringing it down. I will leave some whites, and I want this road. I think it's a road. I don't know what it is. It is in my painting anyway. That's why I'm not really worried about where this subject comes from, because probably the people, when they look at the painting, they won't even recognize it. They'll be like, oh, that's a nice place. Where's that? And it may be the lighthouse at the end of their street. But that's what creativity does. Huh? You sort of bend the reality to suit you, depending on what it is that you feel like you want. And all ideas are good. All right, so just extremely basic, quick. I'm putting in that golden glow. I think I'm going to keep a lot of white down here. I don't want to fill in the paper. You don't have to paint edge to edge. You don't have to fill in the whole entire piece of paper. I will put some yellow down here though, because that way it's already here. That's not bright enough. There we go. It's a little bit of transparent yellow. So I will put some orange in. It's an orangey yellow. And probably the same more strength. That's my gouache here. And with some transparent yellow, we'll make it just that extra bit brighter. Let's go straight to the tube just to get it even brighter. There we go. Just for this area. All right, I can probably put some here too, to be honest. But one thing you will notice as I weave in and out of every single corner of my subject, I treat the whole piece of paper at the same time. I won't paint subject by subject because I want an end result which looks like one painting, not like different pieces. All right, so that's done. So let's have something warm in the background. Now, this wasn't in the plan. That's what I was telling you. Because I have thought about this a little bit, I don't need to think anymore. My painting is sort of already painted in my head, which means all I need to do is play, and I can change my mind. I can come back in with new ideas, knowing that it should still pretty much work, because I'm keeping the base of my idea the same. Now, as I dried the base of my brush, Notice how that color doesn't invade the neighboring shapes, even though they're wet.
What I've put together for you in this course is the real fundamentals that can take absolutely anybody, whether you're an amateur, a beginner, or a professional, to a higher level. We can all move to higher levels. Now, a lot of people are feeling stuck. A lot of people don't know how to progress, and this is a game changer, and it's something that you can do straight away that gives you the results directly in your very next painting.
Okay, it's a moist brush, it's not a wet brush. And that way I can paint on wet paper, suggest some shapes over here that helps me get those buildings standing out. Let's just go perhaps a little bit over here. I don't want that just there. Same thing, a little bit of this color on the horizon, why not? Don't know if there's anything there. No, there wasn't actually. I'm not looking at the photo at all. There wasn't anything there, but there is in mine. That's what creativity is. You're able to go away from the subject if that's what you want. You don't have to. There's loads of nice sorry, my brain doesn't work too well sometimes when I'm actually painting. There's loads of really nice figurative and hyper-figurative subjects. You don't have to be suggestive. Now, I do like the idea of this. That color will come back in. I could actually bring it down to this wet suggested area already. I'm just wanting to put some darker values in, but I'm going to connect them. So that's my burnt sienna, a little bit of violet, and then a tiny bit of blue and a tiny bit of white. And that brings us to this. Okay, so the white helps it be a little bit more of a pastel color, but I maintain my tonal value. In pure watercolor, even though there are two whites in watercolor, if I didn't put the white in, I would have a strong blue with a strong brown with a strong violet. So the only way that I could get a more muted color, it would be to dilute it. That means I can't get a darker tonal value. So I can by adding my whites. That's just one advantage. All right, that's just that. Look at this. I'm trying to bring that darker color, this more purpley color, in and out of this shape that I have. So I'm constantly thinking of that structure, trying to glue everything together. I can even bring it here. Why don't we even bring it into here? I'll come back into this. I know I will. But we can already connect that. No time waiting. No point waiting for tomorrow. And we can add these shapes already. I don't know what's here. It's just stuff. So it's very messy, simple, and that's enough. Okay. So ideally now, just like when I was doing the plan, all I need to do is to add darker values in and then details. And then to be perfectly honest, the painting would be finished. If you wanted to let the paper dry at this stage, then you could. It means that you would be coming back and doing a darker wash to create more visibility, more definition, better understand the shapes, and a few little touches to give a sense of the rock, a sense of ground, a sense of the water, all these sort of things. If, however, you don't want to wait and the paper is still wet, which is my case, I will just go in and put some darker darks in. And so one thing, we're talking about, Hannah, you mentioned at some point, what do I see as troublesome points for people? One of them I know is creating dark values. And a lot of people in watercolor, they struggle creating dark values for the very simple reason that they're dark when they put them on. And then by the time the painting's dry, the values disappeared. So just a heads up, look at this. That's my blue, that's my burnt sienna. I'm going to make a dark value, all right? It's a dark brown, basically. And I'm going to add this dark brown in some areas, maybe a little bit browner, because I've got that warm light coming in. All right, this is for my darker areas. Can you see that value is a little bit darker? And that's going to help give me that sense of volume for some of these areas. Okay, and that's okay. But if I wanted to go darker still, okay, so I'm going pure. There's no water. I'm going pure pigment. A little bit of blue just to make it not so orange. But that's what I'm getting. Now look at this. Okay, blue. And instead of taking burnt sienna, I'm going to go either to my red or to my orange. Doesn't matter which one. Okay, now look at the value of this. Look at that. Straight away, it's so much more powerful. But the difference with this is that when the painting dries, that value will stay. This is one reason why I say sometimes painting with gouache will give you that extra body that will actually still stay transparent, help you. And in one of those areas, which I think is really important, it's creating dark values that are dark but transparent, that you don't have to keep painting over because the value disappeared when it dries. So that's just a little heads up on that one. And it's just so much easier and it stays. It's almost like a deception. It's like for all these years we've been using watercolor trying to get dark values, struggling with it, and then just with a little bit of gouache, but that's a done deal with no effort. And I wish someone had told me that 30 years ago. All right, so I don't want to go dark, but I will go a bit darker. All right, and that's just because I want this part of the painting to be more interesting than this part of the painting. I will look at the subject every now and then, which I haven't been. Let's bring some rock angular sort of shapes in, broken shapes. Okay, but that can stay all pretty simple. I won't go back in there. I want that to dry. I don't want to go back in there yet either because I'll probably do that after. So this is what they say, waiting around for paint to dry. So why don't I put in that little bit of a reflection. It's not really a reflection, it's more like a shadow of this rock. Nice and light. Could be brighter. Go straight to the tube on that one because my yellow is not very clean. I wonder why. All right. We can always add some brighter color after. All right, that's a little bit more interesting. All right, what I can do now is that I need to do the lighthouse. I can do that now. This area behind is dry. This I can let it wait for a minute to let it dry. So let's come back in here. And I do like that cold blue. And I'm going to repeat that cold blue here. So what I will do is come back to my ultramarine, very transparent, even more so. I want this all to be very transparent. All right. This can rush off and dribble if it wants to. I won't be upset if it does. It probably will actually help it do so. I think I want that a little bit more blue. It's looking, I can see the yellow underneath. Can you see that? Here we go. We're going to tell you everything about the wash today. So see how I had yellow underneath, and so I put that transparent blue on, and so the color looks green. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it on there. I'm not going to take it off, but I'm going to take my ultramarine. I'm going to add some white, and although it's transparent, my color will now be blue. Okay, even though it's a transparent wash. It can even be lighter than that. Okay. And it will be a bit more blue, just because that white is creating that barrier and that body paint, which makes it more thick and opaque, without being opaque in the transparency sense of the word. It just creates a bit more body, so it hides the yellow, so it doesn't interfere. All right, that'll do. I want a blue wash around here, or maybe a sort of a burnt sienna and violet wash here. That'll do. It's not dry, but it's almost dry. I want this super transparent because it's a shadow. Shadows have to be transparent, otherwise they look like subjects. So let's go super transparent. I'm going dark. Okay, nothing to lose with this. This is playground. Even though it's not planned, painting should be fun. So let's keep it fun. Change the color. I'm bringing in some blue. That's a little bit more grayed down now that I put the blue in. Okay, I'm going to bring that orange down here. I'm keeping this really loose, voluntarily. So much fun, these sort of subjects. It's really kind of like a game of playing dot to dot, where you go in and you take a shape and you try and connect it to the next shot, the shape, and then connect that to the next shape, and then connect that to the next one, and see if you're actually able to do a painting that literally goes in and out of everything, and still looks good. Now, I've got a problem here. It's not a big problem, but because I'm so busy talking, look, that's all the same tonal value. That's not very interesting. So I'm going to take off a bit of colour there, because it's too much the same tonal value. And let's go back in here. And it's just a mess, okay? Voluntarily, that'll do. While that's drying, I'm going to go in and already put chimneys and things on it. And that way, this wash that I'm putting on, these little details actually join the big shape. They're not separate. They're not things that I add on at the end. I want them to actually mix with the actual subject. They're not different from the house. They're part of the house. So I'll go in. Let's maybe put a little bit of blue in here. Okay, just play with it. A little bigger brush. Right. All right. Not worried about the watermarks. They're not an issue because I know I'm coming back down here. So I have saw them earlier, but they don't concern me because I know that I'm coming back in that area. So I'll be painting over that anyway. And it's just worrying about the eye coming down to my other shape down here. We're going to be painting a little subject rather than painting each rock separately. And that is something that I think we often focus too much on the subject and not enough on the unity of the subject. Now, brushwork, we were talking about brushwork before. Brushwork's a fun one. So I want to do a nice, not enough, nice dry brush here. Okay, just to break that up a little bit, soften that edge so that the eye doesn't look too much there, and then we'll bring the eye down here just through tonal values, just by playing with more tonal values. Let's go darker, just to get perhaps a little bit of a darker. I'll go with my orange. Okay, so it didn't go darker, now it's darker. Okay, all right. That's all very simple. Let's put some shadow in this area. I know I want it darker again, so I'm going to go back into my gouache, but I want it transparent. Okay, So I'm not focusing on the subject or on the technique at all. I'm focusing on guiding the eye around, giving the eye something interesting to look at, so that my overall painting will hopefully be interesting with whatever the idea is that I was wanting to get. But when I talk, I sort of lose touch of what I'm thinking of. Okay, so that'll do. Now I'm going to bring darker values down here. Can you see how it just sort of appears, but there's nothing really particularly visible, interesting, precise. It's just really basic. This can all dry. And this is where the structure and the composition, and I would say the subject treatment come in, because that's all there is. I'm not focusing on brushwork, little details, or anything specific to get the effect that I want. It's just the big shapes that are going to pull it together, which I think is pretty cool. All right. Making a little pier or a little something. Maybe we can imagine that there's some masts of boats over the behind these rocks. Maybe we can put some, like it's a port on the other side behind. Not too strong. They're not the focal points. Just create a little bit more interest. All right. I have to wait for this to dry. So what I can do is already the water. I don't know how we're going for time, but I think we're okay. Probably only need another 5 minutes or so. So what do you want to do at this stage? So I have a little bit of Windsor blue and a little bit of ultramarine blue. And I'm going to have to push this over because I'm going to have to get my hand in here. So I might push it all the way up here. You can see the color here anyway. All right, dry brushwork. Just put it on. Don't play with it. It's one stroke from side to side. It's not back and forth. It's one stroke. Don't go back over it. Even if it's not good, it doesn't matter. Just do it with one stroke. If you have too many whites with the point, just fill some in. But don't go back on the big shape. Just fill some of them in. All right. Overworked washes like this will look awful. That brush is actually not very good to do hard edges, so I've now got this one. And now I want even lighter, and I'm going up again. There we go. One stroke, like a one-hit wonder. I can leave some white there actually. I don't need a lot, otherwise I'm going to lose the visibility of this. Just a little bit on the horizon, and maybe then just bring it down in little strokes. I mean, this is a very soft little scene. That Sunday, peaceful Sunday on the pier, fishing. That's sort of the idea. So I want to stay very, very, I won't say boring. It's the first word that comes to my mind, but it's not really boring. It's just peaceful. Let's just say peaceful. All right. All right. A little bit of darker color coming in here. It will dry lighter than that. And I'm going to bring some of this blue here. So now that this is dry, it's not bright enough, but I'll even just grab, if you look what I'm doing here, I'm grabbing a tiny little bit of white into my blue. And this is just like watered down color. So we've managed to actually pretty much transform the subject, but keep the basic idea. It's not a complicated scene. But here what I'm doing is I'm reducing the visibility, getting rid of those whites that was next to that hard dark line, and that makes the visibility come here. This is the last few minutes of a little sketch, little painting, where you sort of need to look at it to say, is there something that is distracting me? Does my focal point stand out enough? Do I think there's a few little touches that I need, or is it okay? And I think I know it's not essential, but it's just one of those cliche things, the little red roof of the um, lighthouse I would like to put in, which is obviously an easy way to make the eye go to the lighthouse. But I think I've got a few tonal values that are missing as well. I would suggest you don't finish your painting all in the same go, because we do overwork it for that reason as well. There's some tonal values missing that's making this area look quite flat. Ideally, I would come back into them later when this is dry. That would give me some hard edges, some of those stronger lines. That would be nicer. But we can still do it a little bit in the wet paint. Doesn't have the same effect, but can get away with it a little bit. So I sort of think keeping it fresh and simple would be a better idea. Overworking it, I would regret it. So as I'm telling you to not overwork your paintings, it would be a shame if I did, wouldn't it? Well, the one thing I wanted to do, she says, she's going to add something else. I wanted to have, I know it's not necessary, but I can only do it when it's dry. Some little white barrier, but I'll have to do that when it's dry. So you'll have to wait until the finished photo when that comes, just some little posts just to break that up a little bit. But I think I should stop.